The bell above the door of Harper's boutique jingled softly as 17-year-old Amara Jackson stepped inside, her sneakers scuffing the polished hardwood floor. She clutched a crumpled shopping list in one hand, her phone in the other, scrolling through a playlist of old-school R&B her mom had burned into her soul. Amara's braids swung gently as she glanced around, her brown eyes bright with purpose but wary. She knew this wasn't her usual neighborhood. Harper's boutique sat in the heart of Willow Heights, a ritzy enclave where designer bags cost more than her mom's old Honda. Amara wasn't here for the glitz. She needed a dress for her senior prom, and her mom had insisted this store had the one. The air smelled of lavender and wealth, and Amara felt the weight of curious stares from the all-white staff the moment she walked in. She tucked her phone into her hoodie pocket and headed toward the racks of dresses, her heart thumping. She wasn't naive. Being black in a place like this often came with a script. Smiles that didn't reach the eyes, questions laced with suspicion. Still, she squared her shoulders, determined to find that dress and get out. Karen Whitaker, the store manager, stood behind the counter, her manicured nails tapping against a tablet. At 42, Karen prided herself on running Harper's boutique like a well-oiled machine. She'd worked her way up from sales associate to manager over a decade, and her sharp blue eyes missed nothing, or so she thought. The moment Amara entered, Karen's gaze locked onto her, narrowing slightly. Karen didn't consider herself prejudiced, but she had a gut feeling about certain customers. Amara's hoodie, her casual posture, the way she lingered near the priciest dresses, it set off alarms in Karen's mind. She whispered to a coworker, "Keep an eye on that one," before plastering on her customer service smile and approaching Amara. "Excuse me, miss," Karen said, her voice syrupy but edged with steel. "Can I help you find something, or are you just browsing?" The word browsing dripped with implication, and Amara's stomach tightened. She forced a smile, holding up her list. "I'm looking for a prom dress. Something blue, maybe." Amara's politeness did little to soften Karen's scrutiny. The manager hovered as Amara sifted through dresses, her presence like a shadow that wouldn't lift. Amara tried to focus, pulling a sapphire gown from the rack, its fabric shimmering under the store's soft lights. She held it up, imagining herself at prom, laughing with her best friend Tasha, and maybe even dancing with her crush, Jamal. Karen's voice cut through her daydream. "That's a $700 dress. Are you sure you're in the right section?" Amara froze, her cheeks burning. She wanted to snap back but bit her tongue, knowing that would only make things worse. "I'm sure," she said quietly, draping the dress over her arm and moving toward the fitting rooms. As Amara disappeared behind the curtain, Karen's unease grew. She didn't trust this girl, not her calm demeanor, not her story about prom. Karen's fingers hovered over her phone, debating whether to call security. She told herself it was just protocol, nothing personal. Inside the fitting room, Amara slipped into the blue dress, the fabric cool against her skin. She twirled in front of the mirror, her reflection glowing. For a moment, she felt unstoppable, like the heroines in her mom's favorite novels. She snapped a quick selfie to send to her mom, Dr. Elise Jackson, knowing she'd lose her mind over how perfect the dress was. Elise wasn't just Amara's mom, she was her rock, her compass. A single mother who'd raised Amara while building a tech empire, Elise was the kind of woman who walked into rooms and made them listen. Amara admired her fiercely, though she sometimes felt the pressure of living up to her mom's legacy. She texted the photo with a heart emoji, then stepped out to show the dress to a sales associate. The associate, a young woman named Lily, gasped. "You look amazing," she said, genuine warmth in her voice. But before Amara could respond, Karen appeared, her arms crossed. "Let's see the receipt for that dress," she said, her tone accusing. Amara blinked, confused. "I haven't bought it yet. I'm just trying it on." Karen's lips pursed, her suspicion hardening into certainty. "We've had issues with theft lately," she said loudly, drawing the attention of other customers. Amara's heart sank as heads turned, their gazes prickling her skin. She felt exposed, like a spotlight had pinned her in place. "I'm not stealing," she said, her voice steady but tight. "I just want to try this on." Karen stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. "Don't make this difficult. Empty your pockets." Amara's hands shook as she pulled out her phone and shopping list, her dignity crumbling under Karen's glare. Lily, the sales associate, shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting between them. She wanted to intervene but feared Karen's wrath. Amara's mind raced. She could walk out, but that might look guilty. She could call her mom, but Elise was in a board meeting an hour away. She stood her ground, her voice rising slightly. "I'm a customer. You can't treat me like this." Karen's eyes narrowed, and she reached for her phone. "We'll see about that." Karen dialed 911, her voice calm but laced with urgency. "Yes, I'm at Harper's boutique in Willow Heights. We have a potential shoplifter, female, about 17, acting suspicious. She's refusing to cooperate." Amara's jaw dropped, her breath catching. The word shoplifter hit like a slap, and the store seemed to shrink around her. Other customers whispered, their phones already out, recording the scene. Amara's hands balled into fists, her nails digging into her palms. She wanted to scream, to run, but she knew that would only make her look guilty. Instead, she locked eyes with Karen, her voice trembling with anger. "You're making a mistake." Karen ignored her, speaking into the phone. "Yes, she's still here. Please send someone quickly." Lily, the sales associate, stepped forward hesitantly. "Karen, maybe we should wait." She started, but Karen cut her off with a glare. "Stay out of this, Lily." Amara's heart pounded as the reality sank in. The police were coming. Amara stood frozen in the fitting room doorway, the blue dress still clinging to her frame. Her mind spiraled, replaying every moment since she'd walked into the store. Had she done something wrong? Looked too confident? Too out of place? The weight of being judged, of being seen as less than, pressed against her chest, making it hard to breathe. She thought of her mom, who'd taught her to carry herself with pride, to never let anyone dim her light. Elise had faced worse than this, boardrooms full of skeptics, investors who doubted her because of her skin. Amara straightened, channeling her mom's strength. She wouldn't cry, not here, not in front of Karen. The store's front door jingled again, and 2 police officers stepped inside, their radios crackling. The taller one, Officer Daniels, scanned the room, his hand resting on his belt. "What's the situation?" he asked Karen, who gestured toward Amara. This young lady was acting suspiciously, refusing to show proof of purchase for that dress. Amara's throat tightened as the officers approached, their boots heavy on the floor. She felt the eyes of every customer boring into her, their whispers like static in her ears. Officer Daniels, a middle-aged man with a stern face, looked her up and down. "Miss, can you explain what's going on?" he asked, his tone neutral but probing. "I'm just shopping," Amara said, her voice cracking slightly. She gestured to the dress. "I tried this on, and she pointed at Karen, "accused me of stealing without any proof." Karen interjected, her voice sharp. "She was lingering, acting evasive. I have a right to protect my store." The second officer, A younger woman named Officer Ruiz frowned slightly, her eyes flickering with doubt. She glanced at Amara's shopping list, still clutched in her hand, then back at Karen. "Let's all take a step back," Ruiz said. "Miss, do you have ID?" Amara nodded, reaching for her wallet, her hands trembling. As Amara handed over her ID, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it, her focus on the officers. Karen stood smugly, arms crossed, convinced she'd caught a thief. The customers' murmurs grew louder, some shaking their heads, others filming with their phones. Amara felt like she was on trial, her every move dissected. Officer Ruiz studied Amara's ID, then handed it back. "Amara Jackson, 17. Local address," she said, her voice calm. "You're a high school student?" Amara nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I'm just here for a prom dress." Ruiz's expression softened slightly, but Daniels cut in. "We need to verify your story. Do you have a parent we can call?" Amara's stomach lurched. Her mom was in a meeting, probably unreachable, but before she could answer, her phone buzzed again, insistently this time. She glanced at the screen. Mom calling. Her heart leaped. Maybe Elise had seen her text. She looked at Ruiz. "Can I answer this?" "It's my mom." Ruiz nodded and Amara swiped to answer, her voice low. "Mom?" Elise's voice came through sharp and urgent. "Amara, what's going on? I got your text, then a voicemail from Tasha saying something about police at Harper's boutique." Amara's eyes stung with relief, but she kept her composure. "I'm okay, but the manager called the cops. She thinks I'm stealing." Elise's tone shifted, a mix of fury and protectiveness. "Stay calm, baby. I'm on my way. Don't say anything else until I get there." Amara nodded, even though her mom couldn't see. "Okay." She hung up, meeting Ruiz's gaze. "My mom's coming," she said, her voice steadier now. Karen scoffed. "This is a waste of everyone's time. Just admit what you did and we can resolve this." Amara ignored her, focusing on the officers. Daniels sighed, checking his watch. "Let's wait for the parent, then. But if this checks out, someone's got some explaining to do." His eyes flicked toward Karen, who bristled. The wait felt endless. Amara stood near the fitting room, the blue dress still on, her arms wrapped around herself. The officers lingered nearby, chatting quietly while Karen returned to the counter, her confidence unshaken. Lily, the sales associate, hovered awkwardly, her eyes full of guilt. She mouthed, "I'm sorry," to Amara, who gave a small nod. Customers continued to whisper, some leaving, others staying to watch the drama unfold. Amara's mind churned with questions. Would her mom get here in time? Would the police believe her? She thought of her prom, her friends, her future. How one moment could derail everything. The injustice burned, but she held her head high. Her phone buzzed again, a text from Tasha. "Girl, I'm outside. This is wild. You okay?" Amara typed back quickly. "Mom's coming. I'm fine." She wasn't fine, not really, but admitting that felt like giving Karen power. She slipped her phone back into her pocket, her resolve hardening. Outside, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Willow Heights' pristine streets. Tasha leaned against a lamppost, her phone in hand, live streaming the scene to her followers. "Y'all, my best friend Amara is in there, and this manager called the cops on her for no reason," she said, her voice thick with anger. The comments flooded in, a mix of outrage and support. Inside, the tension thickened. Karen rearranged a display of handbags, her movements jerky, as if sensing the shift in the room. Officer Ruiz glanced at her phone, her brow furrowing, likely seeing Tasha's live stream. Daniels, oblivious, checked his radio, his impatience growing. Amara stood still, her heart a steady drumbeat. Then the door jingled again, and every head turned. Dr. Elise Jackson stepped inside, her presence commanding the room like a storm rolling in. At 45, Elise was striking, tall, with close-cropped natural hair and a tailored blazer that screamed power. Her eyes, identical to Amara's, scanned the scene, landing on her daughter. Amara's shoulders sagged with relief. Elise's heels clicked against the floor as she strode toward Amara, ignoring the officers and Karen. She cupped her daughter's face, her voice soft but fierce. "You okay, baby?" Amara nodded, her eyes glistening. "I'm okay, Mom." Elise hugged her tightly, then turned, her gaze locking onto Karen like a laser. Karen's confidence faltered, her smile slipping. She didn't know who Elise was, but the woman's aura screamed authority. Officer Daniels stepped forward, clearing his throat. "Ma'am, are you this young lady's mother?" Elise's eyes flicked to him, cool and assessing. "Dr. Elise Jackson, CEO of Nexus Tech. Yes, I'm Amara's mother. Now someone tell me why my daughter is being treated like a criminal." The room went silent, the weight of Elise's title sinking in. Karen's face paled, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Lily gasped softly, her eyes wide. Even the customers stopped whispering, their phones still recording. Amara stood taller, her mom's strength flowing into her. Elise's voice was calm, but razor-sharp as she addressed Karen. "You called the police on my daughter because she was trying on a dress? In a store where she's a paying customer?" Karen stammered, her hands fluttering. I was just following protocol. We've had theft issues, and she was acting... Acting how?" Elise cut in, her tone icy. "Acting like a teenager shopping for prom, or acting like someone you decided didn't belong here?" Karen's cheeks flushed, but she doubled down. "She was evasive, lingering near expensive items. I had to protect the store." Amara's jaw clenched, but Elise placed a hand on her shoulder, grounding her. Officer Ruiz stepped forward, her voice measured. "Dr. Jackson, we're just trying to sort this out. Your daughter says she was only trying on the dress, and we're inclined to believe her. But we need to follow procedure." Elise nodded, her eyes never leaving Karen. "Then let's follow it. Properly." Daniels, sensing the shift, turned to Karen. "Ma'am, do you have any evidence, security footage, witnesses that this young lady was stealing?" Karen hesitated, her bravado crumbling. "Well, not yet, but I was about to check the cameras when you arrived." Ruiz raised an eyebrow. "So you called us before confirming anything?" Karen's silence was deafening. Elise's lips curved into a tight smile, but her eyes burned. "Let me guess," she said, her voice low. "You saw a black girl in a hoodie and decided she was trouble. No questions, no proof, just your gut." The word gut dripped with disdain, and Karen flinched. Amara watched her mom in awe, her heart swelling. Elise wasn't just defending her. She was dismantling Karen's entire worldview. The customers murmured, some nodding, others looking ashamed. Tasha's live stream was blowing up outside, the comments a chorus of "Yaz Queen" and fire emojis. Elise turned to the officers. "I'd like to see that security footage now, and I want a formal report of this incident, including why my daughter was targeted." Daniels nodded, looking uncomfortable. "We'll need to coordinate with the store's security team." Elise's smile was razor thin. "Oh, I'll make sure you get access." Karen scrambled to the back office, her heels clicking frantically. Lily, still near the fitting room, approached Amara hesitantly. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I should have said something sooner." Amara gave her a small smile. "It's okay. Thanks for trying." Lily's eyes were glossy, her guilt palpable. Elise's phone buzzed and she glanced at it briefly. A message from her assistant, confirming she'd canceled her next meeting to stay here. She slipped the phone back into her pocket, her focus unwavering. Amara knew that look. Her mom was in battle mode, and she wouldn't stop until justice was served. In the back office, Karen fumbled with the security system, her hands shaking. The footage loaded, showing Amara entering the store, browsing dresses, and trying on the blue gown. There was nothing suspicious, no hidden items, no sneaky glances. Just a girl shopping. Karen's stomach dropped as Elise and the officers watched over her shoulder. "This is your evidence?" Elise asked, her voice deceptively calm. Karen stammered. I thought she might have taken something earlier." Ruiz shook her head, jotting notes. "Ma'am, you called us based on assumptions, not facts. That's a problem." Daniel sighed, rubbing his temple. "We'll need to file this as a false report." Karen's face crumpled, but she said nothing. Elise's eyes met Amara's through the office's glass wall, a silent promise. "I've got you." Amara nodded, her chest loosening for the first time since Karen's accusation. She still felt raw, but her mom's presence was a lifeline. Back in the office, Elise addressed the officers again. "I want to know what happens next. My daughter was publicly humiliated based on nothing. There have to be." Elise's voice was steady, but her words carried weight, each one landing like a gavel. "Amara's a minor, and this isn't just a misunderstanding. It's a pattern." Ruiz nodded, her expression serious. "We'll document everything, Doctor. Jackson, if you want to pursue this further, you can file a complaint with the department or take it up with the store's corporate office." Elise's eyes glinted. "Oh, I plan to do both. And I'm guessing Harper's Boutique doesn't know their CEO is here." Karen's head snapped up, her eyes wide with panic. "The CEO," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Elise didn't acknowledge her, but the room seemed to hum with the revelation. Amara's brows furrowed. She hadn't known her mom's connection to the store either. Elise's gave her a subtle wink, a hint of mischief amid the storm. Elise turned to Amara, her voice softening. "Baby, why don't you go change out of that dress? We'll figure out what to do with it." Amara nodded, slipping back to the fitting room. As she peeled off the gown, her emotions crashed over her like a tidal: anger, relief, pride in her mom, but also a lingering sting. She'd done nothing wrong, yet she'd been treated like a threat. Lily was waiting outside, holding a garment bag. "I thought you might want this for the dress," she said, quietly. "No charge. It's the least I can do." Amara hesitated, then took the bag, her voice soft. "Thanks, Lily's. You're okay." Lily smiled, her eyes still apologetic, and walked away. Amara rejoined her mom, who was now speaking with the officers in low tones. Karen stood by the counter, her arms crossed tightly, as if holding herself together. The customers had mostly cleared out, but Tasha was still outside, her live stream now showing Elise's car, a sleek, black SUV, parked prominently. The internet was eating it up. Elise's phone rang, and she stepped aside to answer it. It was Harper's Boutique's regional director, a man named Paul Whitaker, no relation to Karen. "Doctor?" "Jackson's. I just got a forwarded video of the incident at Willow Heights," he said, his voice tense. "I'm horrified. How can we make this right?" Elise's tone was measured but firm. "Paul, I'm not interested in platitudes. Your manager racially profiled my daughter and called the police on her without evidence. I own a stake in your parent company, and I'm considering my options. Legal, it's a media, the whole 9 yards. Paul's stammered. "We'll investigate. I promise." Karen's actions don't reflect. "They reflect," Elise cut in off, "because you allowed a culture where this could happen. I'm meeting with your board next week. Expect me to have a lot to say." She hung up, her jaw tight, and turned back to Amara, her expression softening. "Ready to go, baby?" Amara nodded, the garment bag over her shoulder. She glanced at the blue dress inside, unsure. "Should I keep it?" she asked, her voice small. Elise smiled, her eyes warm. "If you love it, it's yours. Don't let this ruin your prom." Amara's heart lifted, and she hugged her mom tightly, whispering, "Thanks." The officers finished their notes, and Ruiz approached. "Doctor, Jackson's, Amara, we're free to go. We'll follow up if there's anything else." Elise nodded. "You'll hear from my attorney." Daniels tipped his hat, looking chastened. "Ma'am, I'm sorry for the trouble." Elise's gaze was curt. "Don't apologize to me. Apologize to her." Daniels turned to Amara, his voice gruff but sincere. "Miss Jackson, I'm sorry. This should have happened." Amara met his eyes, her chin high. "Thanks, just, don't let it happen again." Her words carried a quiet dignity, a resolve that made Elise's proud. As they walked out, the door jingling, Tasha rushed over, her phone still streaming. "Girl, you're trending!" she exclaimed, hugging Amara. "Justice for Amara is blowing up." Amara laughed, a shaky but genuine sound, the weight of the past hour easing. "You're wild, Tasha," she said, but her eyes were grateful. Karen watched them leave, her face a mask of shock and dread. She'd thought she was protecting her store, her authority, but now her job and reputation were on the line. Lily approached her cautiously, her voice low. "Karen, you really messed up." Karen snapped. "I was doing my job," but her voice lacked conviction. In the car, Elise reached for Amara's hand. "I'm so sorry you went through that," she said, her voice thick. Amara squeezed back, her eyes glistening. "You were amazing, Mom. Why does this keep happening?" Elise's sigh was heavy with years of shared struggle. "Because some people see the world through fear. But we keep pushing, baby. Always." The drive home was quiet at first, Amara staring out at the passing streets, the blue dress in her lap. She thought about prom, about Tasha's live stream, about the way her mom had walked in and changed everything. She felt raw but not defeated. She'd faced a system that tried to shrink her, and she'd come out with her head high. Elise broke the silence, her voice soft. "You know, when I started my Nexus Tech, I was your age. People like that Karen told me I didn't belong in their rooms either. I built my life proving them wrong. Not for them, but for me. You'll do the same." Amara nodded, her throat tight. "I want to, but it's hard sometimes." Elise smiled. "It is, but you're my daughter. Hard's nothing to you." Amara's laughed softly, her heart warming. She thought of her mom's stories, how she'd fought for every inch of her success, how she'd turned no into watch me. Amara felt that fire in her now, a spark she'd carry to prom and beyond, into segment 4. That night, Amara sat on her bed, the dress hanging in her closet door. She scrolled through her phone, reading the comments on Tasha's live stream. Strangers were rallying behind her, sharing their own stories of prejudice, calling her an inspiration. It felt surreal, but it gave her strength. She found a post from Lily, the sales associate, who'd quit her job at Harper's and wrote about witnessing Amara's courage. Amara smiled, liking the post. Elise knocked on her door, holding 2 mugs of hot chocolate. "Thought you might want some of this," she said, sitting beside her. They sipped in silence for a moment, the comfort of routine grounding them. "Mom," Amara said, "how do you do it? How do you keep going when people treat you like that?" Elise's eyes were distant, then focused. I think about you. Every time I take a step, I'm clearing a path for you. And you'll do better than I did. Amara's eyes shone with tears, and she leaned into her mom, their bond a shield against all the world's sharp edges.
The next day, news of the incident spread beyond Willow Heights. Local outlets picked up Tasha's livestream, and by noon, number Justice for Amara was trending nationally. Harper's Boutique issued a public apology, announcing Karen's suspension pending an internal review. Elise's attorney was mentioned in every article, her stake in the parent company, a quiet undercurrent of power. Amara watched it all unfold, feeling both overwhelmed and empowered. She wasn't expect this, not to the attention, not the support. Tasha's called her, her voice gleeful. You're famous, girl. We're getting you that red carpet moment at prom. Amara laughed, but her heart wasn't fully in it. She wanted justice, not fame. At school, her classmates rallied around her. Jamal, her crush, pulled her aside in the hallway. I saw what happened. You're badass, Amara. You okay? His concern was genuine, his eyes soft, and Amara's cheeks warmed. I'm getting there, she said, smiling. For Jamal. He grinned. Good. Save me a dance at prom, yeah? She nodded, her heart fluttering. A week later, Elise met with Harper's parent company, her presentation a masterclass in controlled fury. She outlined not just the incident but the broader implications, how bias in retail eroded trust, how it cost businesses more than they realized. The board listened, some squirming, others nodding. By the end, they'd agreed to mandatory bias training and a diversity audit, with Elise overseeing both. Amara, meanwhile, was preparing for prom. She tried on the blue dress again, this time in her bedroom, with Tasha and her mom cheering her on. You're gonna slay, Tasha said, snapping photos. Amara twirled, feeling beautiful, powerful. But she couldn't shake a nagging thought. What about others who didn't have an Elise to back them up? That night, Amara drafted a post for her own social media. Her words, raw and honest. What happened to me happens every day. I'm lucky I had my mom, my friends, my voice. But not everyone does. Let's keep talking, keep fighting. She hit post, not knowing it would go viral, sparking a movement among teens nationwide. Prom night arrived, and Amara stepped into the gymnasium, the blue dress glowing against her skin. The DJ played her favorite song, and Tasha dragged her to the dance floor, their laughter infectious. Jamal joined them later, his smile shy as he offered his hand. Told you I'd get that dance, he said, and Amara grinned, letting him spin her. Elise watched from the sidelines, her heart full. She'd fought so many battles to give Amara this moment. Boardroom skirmishes, late-night worries, a life of proving herself. Seeing her daughter shine, surrounded by friends, felt like a victory deeper than any corporate deal. As the night wound down, Amara was crowned prom queen, a surprise orchestrated by Tasha and her classmates. She accepted the crown, her eyes finding her mom's in the crowd. Elise clapped hardest, her eyes glistening. Amara's speech was simple. This is for everyone who's ever been told they don't belong. You do. Keep shining. The viral post from Amara's grew into number Belong Anywhere, a campaign led by teens sharing stories of overcoming bias. Amara became its reluctant face, speaking at local events, her voice growing stronger with each one. Elise mentored her, helping her navigate the spotlight while staying true to herself. Harper's Boutique underwent changes, with new leadership and a commitment to diversity. Karen, fired after the audit, moved away, her name fading from Willow Heights gossip. Lily, inspired by Amara, started a blog about allyship, her posts gaining traction among young retail workers. Amara and Elise sat on their living room one evening, watching a news segment about number Belong Anywhere. You started something, baby, Elise said, her voice proud. Amara smiled, her eyes thoughtful. We did, Mom, and we're not done. Elise nodded, pulling her close. Never. Months later, Amara stood at a college orientation, her dorm room a mix of unpacked boxes and dreams. She'd chosen a historically black college, drawn to its history and community. Her prom dress hung in her closet, a reminder of the day she'd faced down injustice and danced anyway. Elise visited often, bringing her care packages and advice. "You're building your own path now," she said, during one visit, her voice proud but wistful. Amara hugged her, her heart full. "I learned from the best," she replied, meaning every word. As Amara walked across campus, her first class, she checked her phone. One new notification, a message from Tasha. "Tasha, proud of you, sis. Keep shining." Amara smiled, slipping the phone into her pocket. She was Amara Jackson, daughter, friend, fighter, and she was just getting started. Years later, Amara stood at a stage, now a young woman with a law degree and a mission. She spoke at a crowd about number belong anywhere, now a global movement. Her voice was steady, powerful, echoing her mom's strength and her own fire. "Belonging isn't mean fitting in, it means changing the room to fit you," she said. Elise sat in the front row, her eyes shining with pride. "That's my girl," she whispered, her heart full. Amara's journey had changed, not just her but the world around her, sparking conversations that rippled outward, touching lives she'd never meet. As Amara finished, her eyes met with applause. She felt the weight of her story, the boutique, the blue dress, the fight, and smiled. She'd turned pain into purpose, and she knew, deep down, this was only the beginning.